All right, hi guys. This video is going to be about some problems from chapter 12, just to make sure that after break we still remember everything and we can do a few problems about everything that we've learned so far and hopefully finish up this week and next week with chapter 12 and then move on to a new chapter. One quick thing before we start though is some expectations for math. So a few things that I'm noticing is I think when we post the videos, some of us maybe play them but don't actually pay attention. I think some of us aren't watching the video at all. I think some of us are skipping ahead of the video, and that's feeling pretty frustrating for us as teachers because we are trying to do our best to get you to learn the information, but at this point this is distance learning and it's kind of on you to actually watch the videos and follow along and pay attention. So I want to make sure that we're all understanding what the expectations are as fourth graders with distance learning. So first of all, for this video and for every video, you need to actually be listening and focusing. You need to find a good spot where you can listen. You need to make sure you have a paper and pencil with you. You need to follow along on all of the problems and actually look at the screen, think about the things that we're saying, ask yourself some questions while you're going to make sure you understand. While you're doing the problems, you shouldn't just be sitting and staring at it like it's a movie and just watching or listening me or another teacher solve the problems. You need to pause the video, solve the problem first, and then watch the video to check your answers. If you just copy all of the answers as we do them, there's no learning in that. You can have your kindergarten brother or sister do that. Anybody can do that, okay? You all know how to read and write. That's not the issue. The issue is you need to learn and actually understand how to solve these problems. So again, the expectation is that when we start practicing these problems, you hit pause, you try the problem on your own, and then you press play and you check. If you make mistakes or you're confused, that's totally fine. That's where the learning happens though. If you never make a mistake and you never try a problem, then no learning is happening. Next thing is that you are in charge of your learning. So usually in class, we are teaching, we're talking, and I can see that you're not listening, or I can help you, or I can help you along. I can check your work while you're solving the problems. Obviously, with distance learning, we can't do that right now. So that means that you are actually in charge of your own learning. We will provide everything that we possibly can to help you be successful, but at the end of the day, it is up to you whether or not you learn this information or not. So you are in charge of listening, you are in charge of asking for help, you are in charge of solving the problems. You need to realize that this is a huge responsibility, and as fourth graders, almost fifth graders, you should be independent while you are doing this and using all the tools you can to help yourself be successful. Lastly, you need to start zooming your teacher if you're confused. A lot of us are like, I feel great, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. I feel great, I feel great. And then actually you're getting the problems wrong and you are actually confused. Our job right now is to help you. So just like in class, if you're confused, you have to come ask us. You have to be able to Zoom us if you are confused. So please, while you're watching, as you're doing workbook pages, as you're doing extra practice, as you're doing a project, and if you have a question or you're like, I'm not really sure if I'm doing this right, then take a few minutes, Zoom with your teacher and ask for clarification, because otherwise you are just following along and you're never saying that you're confused, and we don't know that you're confused. So right now you should have a paper, pencil. We're going to go through some problems. I'm going to tell you to stop and pause. You are going to solve the problem, and then you are going to press play to start. If you would like to use a calculator for this chapter, or for these slides, that's totally fine. But you have to write down your equation. So if I'm doing 22 times 17, I have to write down 22 times 17, type it in my calculator, and then put it on the paper, the answer. Okay, you're not just only using a calculator, you need to write down your equations. All right, let's get started. First problem is just a basic, can you find the area of this shape? Can you find the perimeter? If you remember how to do this, you're gonna press pause, try it on your own, press play to check your answer. All right, so just a reminder, perimeter is the outside, how long the outside of a shape or a figure is. It would be like putting a fence around something. So we just want to know the length of the total outside of that figure. Area is how much space it takes up on the inside. It would be like putting squares. How many squares can you fit inside of a shape? So again, if this is 4, then that means that going down, there's 4 squares going down, and there'd be 9 across, and we're actually calculating how many pieces are inside of that, okay? So for that, we multiply how long it is times how wide it is, and that will get us how many total squares are inside that shape. So first, let's do the area of this first. So if I know that the length of this is 9, and I know the width of this is 4, I can do 9 times 4, and get this answer, and I'm hoping that we know that this is a math fact, and that gets me 36. If you got 36, you got it right, but you need to make sure that you have your correct equations. Remember, it's 36 centimeters squared, which that 2 is for a 2-dimensional. We're actually finding and counting how many squares are in this figure. Perimeter, we do, we add up the outside, so we're putting a fence. So I'm going to put a fence here, 9 plus 4 plus 9 plus 4, and then I can find the perimeter. I know 9 plus 9 is 18. I know 4 plus 4 is 8, so I'm going to do 18 plus 8, and I get to 26 centimeters for my perimeter, okay? If you got that right, maybe give yourself a little tally, and you know that for this problem that you are good and you don't have to, you have a basic understanding. All right, we're gonna change things up now. So now let me clear this, and we're gonna try another one. Okay, this one says, they want you to find the perimeter of a square and the area of a square. So again, it's a square, think about that. Find the perimeter, find the area, and then press play when you're ready to check your work. All right, so for this one, I'm gonna start with my perimeter. So I know it's a square, so I know that if that's 10, then I know that's 10, I know that side's 10, and I know that side's 10. You can solve this in 2 ways. You can think of doing this as 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 and getting 40. Or you can think, well, it's a square and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tens, so I can do 10 times 4 and I can get 40. So I know the perimeter is 40 inches, so give yourself a tally if you got that. And then I know area is how many actual squares are in there, and I know for area I'm doing how long it is times how wide it is. So I know the length of the square and the width are the same, so I'm going to do 10 times 10, and that's going to get me 100, and I need my label inches squared. If you got those 2 right, make sure you give yourself a tally for those so that you can see how you are doing. All right, let's try another one. This one says, Andy buys a big envelope that has a length of 30 centimeters and a width of 25 centimeters. What is the perimeter of the envelope? Okay, again, key things. What's the perimeter? I see that the length is 30 and the width is 25. On your paper, when you stop and, oh boy, when you stop and you try this problem, I want you to draw it and you need to show your work so that you can explain later when we do these problems how to get your answers, okay? Press play when you're ready. All right, I'm hoping that you drew a rectangle because it says that the length is 30 and the width is 25. And then it says, what's the perimeter first? And then I also want you to find the area. So again, if I'm doing perimeter, I'm finding out how long it is on the outside. So I'm going to do 30 plus 25 plus 30 plus 25, because I know that if this side's 30, this side's 30, if that side's 25, that side's 25. So again, I'm going to do 30 plus 30, which gets me to 60. I'm going to do 25, my widths, plus 25, which is 50. Oh boy, sorry for my handwriting. And then I'm going to do 50 plus 60 to get the total, which gets me to 100 and, oh boy, I can't draw that. 110, sorry. So my perimeter is 110 centimeters. Now I'm going to do my area, and I know that area is how long this shape is times how wide it is. So if the length is 30 and the width is 25, I know that I'm going to do 25 times 30 to figure out how many squares are inside this, and then I'm going to get 750. But I need to make sure that I have the correct label of centimeters squared, okay? If you got these, give yourself a tally. If this is something that you're feeling confused about, then afterwards you need to check in with your teacher and ask to solve some similar problems. All right, let's do another one. I think we have 2 more. This one has a shape and it's a rectangle, and it says that what I notice about it is, oh boy, the length is 12, and I don't know the width, but I see the perimeter is 42. So they want me to find the width in the area. So I want you to pause. I want you to see if the perimeter, remember, think about what perimeter is. Perimeter is when you add up all the sides. So I know that 12 plus something plus 12 plus something gets me 42. Can you figure out this? And then once you find that, can you figure out the area? So I want you to stop the video, pause it, try to solve it, and then I want you to check your work. All right, so first what I'm doing is I'm knowing that I'm at the perimeter. So I know that my side plus a side plus a side, because I have 4 sides here, plus the side is going to get me to 42. I also know that I actually have two sides are 12. So I'm going to erase two of my S's. And I know one of them is 12. And I also know that this one's 12 because it's a rectangle. And then I don't know the other two, but I know that together it equals 42. So I have to think, well, how much of the 42 do I have? Well, I know that 12 plus 12 is 24. So I have 24 of my 42. So I need to think 24 plus something's going to get me to 42. So what I have to do is I have to work backwards to solve this. So I'm going to take my total 42. I'm going to get rid of what I have to see what I have left. And I'm going to solve this. Oh my gosh, this thing. Okay, so 8. Okay, so I have 18. So I have 18 left. That is not the answer. A lot of us want to put this down as the answer because we're like, oh, I got something and that's it. But you need to remember that 18 is the two sides together. I know that this side plus this side equals 18. So I have to do 18, split it into these two sides. So I'm dividing by 2. And I know that that's 9. So I'm going to put a 9 here and a 9 here. So I know that each of these sides is 9. And I can check this. I can just type in my calculator, 12 plus 9 plus 9, and I get 42. So I know that my width is 9 centimeters. And now that I have that, I can figure out my area. I know area is how long it is times how wide it is. So I'm going to do my length is 12 times my width, which is 9. And then I'm going to get 108. And I have to put centimeters squared. Make sure that you give yourself a tally if you got this one right. If you're getting this one wrong, I want you to think about, is it because you're not dividing it by 2 and you have the 18? Is it that you're solving it as an area problem? Before you solve these, you need to think about what you're working with before you just start solving the problem. You have to actually stop and think. So let your teacher know if this one was a little bit tricky for you, and we'll give you a couple more to practice. All right, next one. I'm going to just do oops, yes, this one. Okay, so this one says the area is 36 and I want to find the perimeter. So this, I'm just going to tell you right now, is a square. So that means that all the sides are the same. Oh my goodness. I know all the sides are the same. So again, I want you to pause this. I want you to try this problem yourself. Just remember that they're working with area, and I know that area is length times the width, and I want you to see, can you figure out this unknown side, and can you figure out the perimeter after you do that? Press play when you're ready. All right, I know that my length times my width is going to get me to 36. So I might be like, oh, well, 9 times 4 is 36, but that's incorrect because this is a square, and it doesn't make sense for this to be 9 and this to be 4 because these have to be the same number because it's a square. So it can't be 9, it can't be 4. You need to think, well, what times what gets me to 36? 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. Oops, 6 times 6 is 36. So that means that this has to be 6. This has to be 6, and then I know it's a square, so I know this is 6, and I know this is 6, okay? Now for my perimeter, I just need to add up all the sides. I'm doing 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, or I could do 6 times 4 to find the perimeter, which gets me to 24 centimeters is my perimeter for this shape. All right, we are gonna do one more problem. We're going to do a composite problem. So again, a composite figure is when we have a figure that's made up of multiple squares and rectangles. So if I were going to like draw this right here, I'm seeing that I have 2 rectangles, 1, 2. So I'm going to first find I'm going to do the perimeter first of this shape. So I need to find my unknown side. So I know that this one is 13. I'm going to actually change this to be a highlighter. I know that this one's 13. And I know that this side's 4. Now I'm coming and I don't know this side. Our biggest mistake is that we're just skipping the unknown sides. Just because it doesn't tell me what it is doesn't mean I don't have to figure it out. I need to figure out how long this side is. So I'm gonna look opposite of it. I don't know how long this side is, but I know that the whole thing is 13. And I see up here that this one must be 7. So let's see, I know that 7 plus 6 gets me to 13. So then that must mean that this right here is 6. So I'm gonna put a 6 here. Then I'm going to come up this side where CB is. Again, I don't know how long this is, but I'm going to look opposite I don't know how that's telling me the whole thing's 9. That's not super helpful. But I also see, though, that this one right here is 4. So 4 plus what gets me to 9? This one must be 5. So now I'm going to add a 5. Now I have a 7 up here. And I'm going to come down and I have a 9. So I'm going to add up all of these to see what my perimeter is. So again, I'm going to do my 13 plus 4 plus 6 plus 5 plus 7 plus 9. And I got 44 centimeters. I'm going to just double check that. So again, I'm going to do 13 plus 4 plus 6 plus 5 plus 7 plus 9 equals, okay, I got the same thing. All right, now we're going to do the area. So the area of this is, I know that area is how long it is times how wide it is, but in a composite figure, I can't do just the whole thing. I need to find first the area of each rectangle or square. So I have to find the area of this one first, and then I can find the area of this big one and then put them together. So I'm going to start over here with this one. So I'm doing how long it is times how wide it is. So I'm going to do 6 times 4 for this one, and I know 6 times 4 is 24. So the area of this rectangle is 24. Now I'm going to come over here and do the length times the width. So this one is 9 times 7. 9 times 7 is 63. So I know the area of this rectangle is 63. Well, I want to find out the area of the whole thing. So I have to do 63 plus my 24 to figure out, well, together, these two shapes, what's their total area? And I got 87. So I'm going to put 87 centimeters squared. Okay? So again, just FYI, you're going to now move on to something else, but you need to make sure that when you're solving the problems, you're showing your work, and that if you're confused, you Zoom your teacher to check in so that we can help you, so that you don't just continue to make the same mistakes and be confused the entire chapter. All right, hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for working so hard. Bye, guys.